So welcome back. We're on our second week of exploring this idea of wise body, breath, and mind, and this idea of kind of integration and how that kind of changes the way we feel in that moment, even if it's only a moment during that experience. It might be something that lasts for a longer period. It might be something that leaves a residue in the body and the mind and the sense of self. And we're just getting more attuned to those kind of three aspects potentially simultaneously. So we're aware we've got a mind because it's focusing. We're aware we've got a body because we're either moving or focusing somewhere specific on the body. And we're kind of having we're both still because we're sitting, but we've got a subtle movement in the hands from the experience we were doing last week. So we're going to do something very similar in terms of the process, but there'll be a little bit, there'll be something different at the beginning and different at the end. And if it is that you feel you want to do something else that really integrates those things, do something different. So these are just my suggestions of accessing it. But if you think, well, actually, I know I've been trying something, or I know I feel more connected if I move just one hand, or if I don't move a hand at all, or if I just always have the hand on the belly, that is something that's more powerful and more connecting. So it's useful not to just copy, but to try and think, don't go overly thoughtful about it, but just see if something more naturally comes along for you. Okay, it's morning. So as a way of kind of arriving to our mindful morning, we'll take a look if you've got that option at the day. If you wish to, and you've got a cup and it's warm and you feel comfortable holding the cup, you can do that at the same time if you wish. So if you need to move to get a better view of the world, then please do. If you feel you want the cup, have the cup. If you want to drink, obviously, take your sips as you need to. So if we're holding the cup and we're looking out, we've got kind of two sensations. And usually, if the cup is fairly warm but not too hot, then it's quite comforting. Yeah, particularly if it's cold. So we've got the body and we've got the sensory experience of the eyes looking out. And then we'll have the mind clicking on certain things, noticing certain things. And one thing for today, maybe that you could choose to focus on if you wish to, is the movement. So we had a little bit of this last week, but there wasn't a lot of movement last week. This week, I suspect you might see the trees moving, you might see the clouds more active. And within that, the birds might be moving around in a slightly different way if you've got bird life around you. So just taking in the movement and every so often experiencing the hands that are warm and being conscious that while there's movement, there's also a lot of stillness out there. So the tree that's moving is very rooted. And behind the clouds is the blue sky. Maybe we won't get it till later, but there's something still even behind that movement. So it might be, if that's just too much to kind of take in, either through the mind or the sensations, then you choose your focus as you take in the day. So every day is particular. Every light is particular. Every movement of a leaf is particular. Every cloud formation is particular as well. So everything we're seeing completely new. But that is built upon kind of a familiarity. You know, we're familiar with the clouds, we're familiar with our landscape, we're familiar with the seasons, we're familiar with what wind does to leaves on a tree. So it's both familiar and it's new. Okay, so if you choose to, then just come in a little bit more back into your space. And once you've had maybe another brief warm, if you want another sip of your drink, then maybe if you're happy to put that to one side, unless you need it a little later. And we'll do movement to start, yes. So whether you're sitting or standing, hopefully it'll work. Hopefully it'll work. Sorry, if you if you sit on the floor or if you're sitting on the chair, hopefully it will work for you. So we'll start with kind of lifting one arm up, like floating it up, yeah, and then floating it back down, floating it up. So some people might want to take it higher. Some people might prefer to take it slightly out at an angle. How light could the movement be? So sometimes shoulders are a little bit sticky, rib joints are a little bit sticky. Movement doesn't feel natural, but just see what then your rhythm becomes as you lift one arm and then lift the other arm. You know, and there might be a time when one hand is down before the other hand lifts, or the other hand might lift before the other hand quite settles. And even if you're not trying specifically, just at least imagine the spine's getting a little bit longer as we float the arm up. There's a little bit more length and maybe a little bit more energy to the spine. And that we still feel rooted. We feel rooted through the feet, feel rooted through the bum on the floor. And therefore, a bit like the tree, we're moving, not being blown in the wind. But our core and our roots are sort of stable. And then settling, maybe having a wriggle of the shoulders, maybe having a rock side to side on the chair. So we have a different movement, but a different sensation of connecting body to the ground. So we will be moving again, but if you just pause for a moment with eyes open or eyes closed and getting a sense of the body on the chair, a full sense of the body on the chair. So we've moved from a sensation maybe of the body being a seeing thing and a body being connected to warmth from the hands around the cup. And we've moved the body physically, moved the arms, trying to create a little bit of a sense of floating movement, watery, fluid movement. And then we have a sense of the whole body on the chair, maybe still, maybe a little movement, maybe noticing the breath, maybe just noticing the hands on the body. Okay. So if just for a moment you can just get open your eyes if they're closed, just so you just have a view of this. So I've got my hands with palms soft, facing each other. And if you just for a moment just create a soft fist and open them out, and a soft fist and open them out, and once more a soft fist and open them out. Just want to try and get see how the joints are, yeah, whether they're a bit sticky or whether they're a little bit more open now. And with the hands still apart, but palms facing each other, maybe the fingers slightly rounded. As we notice the breath, you can now close your eyes if you wish. Then there's a little bit of movement, maybe a little bit out on the in-breath and a little bit towards each other on the out-breath. So the fingers and the hand never touch. And the movement can be small or larger. but there's a sense of coming away and returning. And you might feel a sense that there is kind of something between the hands, whether that's warmth, whether that's space, whether that's energy. So there might be a little bit of almost sense of there's something between the hands as you're pushing them together or allowing them to float together a little bit. And if the shoulders are tense and you need to either stop or lower the hands or change the hands position, then do. But otherwise, we've got movement and we might be able to link that to breath. And if we can't, don't worry about that. It's not possible at this stage. Or if you feel like you're doing it, but really you're feeling like the breath's being messed up in some way and feel like it's not natural or it's not feeling good, just do the movement and let the breath be. Okay. So if you're happy just for one moment, just pausing the hands, the fingers are not quite touching, and you have a sense of particularly the palms of the hands. And you may be able to, but if you can't, have a sense of the center of the palm with a little bit more focus. Okay, and then gently, gently, gently allow the hands to rest where you would normally rest them. If you can feel comfortable with the palms facing up and fingers loose, so a similar kind of positioning, but obviously the hands are now, back of the hands are on the thigh, then go for that. If that's just not comfortable, you choose what's going to work for you. So you can have their palms down if you prefer, or your hand on the belly. So reconnect to your sense of the body on the chair or the body on the floor. Feel connected to the earth through the feet and the sense of the bottom on the floor or on the chair. So wherever the hands are, the likelihood is you'll have a stronger sense of the hands in some shape or form. It might be a very kind of energy sort of feel. It might be a stronger feeling. It might be a warm feeling. So you can either keep the hands still and imagine that point in the center of the palm, almost like it's pulsating. Or you can do subtle movement of the hands to kind of bring that sense through movement. Or you can play a little bit with both, a little bit of movement, a little bit of stillness. So you're taking your mind into your palms. And if you wish, you're taking your breath into the movement or into the sense of the pulsating. So for some people, it's easy to get the focus of the breath without doing too much movement or any movement. It's more imaginary sense of the center. How present can you be to that experience? So now rest one hand comfortably and the other hand, if it feels okay, if you're not already there, putting your hand on your belly, somewhere around the navel. So now the breath's coming to you. The breath comes to the hand. Because the movement isn't the hand, the movement is now usually the belly, even if it's subtle. And if you can imagine the center of the palm and a kind of energy or focus coming from the hand through the belly and also into kind of lower back, so through the body. Could be a light sensation, golden color, whatever resonates. If you like or you prefer both hands around that area or one hand on top of the other hand, then feel free to make that change. So that sense of connection between the palm and the center of the body could now be a bit more diffuse. So it's kind of like it's not just a point in the middle of the palm. It's almost like there's a diffuse light from the whole of the palm. So it's taking up more space. And that light is connecting now to the bottom of the spine, tail end of the spine. And the light is going from the palm through the belly, down to the tail, and up from the tail, up through the spine. And as it meets the spine, it goes through the center of the skull and through the crown of the head. Might be a sense of energy, sense of light. Might be both. Might be a sense of aliveness, sense of movement in the stillness. The light coming from the palm to the belly, to the tail of the spine, and pulsating through the spine. Okay, so you can stay where you are if you wish, or you can move the hands more to the heart space, either one hand or two hands. And if you've moved, then you might get a different sense of the breath there. So feeling the warmth of the hand on the area of the body you're making contact with. Feel the light connection from the palm of the hand into the heart space. Maybe more that diffuse light from the palm into that wider space. This time, if you wish, then the light goes from the hands through into the heart space and then can take a route through the whole body, through the arms, torso, and the legs. And if comfortable, up through the neck and into the skull. So the mind's focused, body's in movement and in stillness. There's a warm quality to the hand on the body. And there's an energetic way of experiencing the body. So another option, but you can stay where you are if you feel like I'm just changing things too quickly for you. Then you could have one hand on the belly and one hand on the heart space. You could feel the warmth of the hands in both areas. Could feel the breath below and between the hands and the body. You could get a sense of the heart space and its diffuse energy through the body. And you could get a sense of the hand on the belly and different light quality going through the spine. Warmth, movement, body, breath, attention. Energy, fluidity, and space. So if you want to take that kind of visual image beyond the body, if you like, so both rooted from the feet through to the earth and from the crown of the head through to the wider space above, you can, if that feels makes sense, is interesting to you. And at any point it doesn't feel right, you just come back to the body anyway. Okay, so bringing ourselves gently back now, a few steps. So coming back particularly to the hands or the hand, whether it's on the body, on the trunk, or whether it's on the legs or wherever, one hand or both hands. If you're still conscious of the breath, then just keep that in your awareness. And feel any connections to the ground and to the chair or bottom to the floor. And if you, again, you can either stay where you are or just return to what we did at the beginning. You can keep your eyes closed because you know what we're doing this time. So the hands would gently come away from the body and we create this kind of like globe shape between the hands. So the hands are quite close together, but they're not touching. And there'll be a coolness if we're doing that because we've had the hands on the body and that was warmer. So the energy will feel different maybe between the hands. And we just do a slight pulsating movement, really small movement, hands away from each other and towards each other, either with the breath or separate to the breath. And then as long as we're comfortable in the body, then we just still with that. We can even rest the hands on the thighs with the palms still facing each other. That's more comfortable than having the arms floating. And you just take your attention to the space between the palms of the hands and the fingers. And if you're happy to just kind of let the palms go for a moment towards the sky, let the energy kind of go up, out, and around. Sense of that from the palms. And then rest the hands. Open the eyes if you don't mind, just flicking them a little bit, maybe a little bit of movement of one foot and then the other foot, or wriggle side to side if you're sitting on the floor. Move a little bit away, forward and back, maybe movement. So you're just getting the body to awaken. Have a look out. It's got lighter, more movement, maybe it's perceptible, so more light. The outside energy might be make more sense now. I don't know. So we played around with our own energy and connection. Okay, folks, so thank you. So yeah, just if you need a bit more time to come around, if you got a bit more time, do get back to something warm if you need to, and your cup maybe. So thank you. Yeah. So we're just exploring and playing and making connections and just seeing how things are. So sometimes doing that and then taking a pause. Sometimes writing things down after works for some people to kind of, some people it's just too heady. For other people, it's kind of more binding and more connecting. And then sometimes free writing comes from that and you just feel in a different place. Anyway, you need to get on with your days. So I'll see you same time next week, whatever the weather. All right. Nice to see you all. Okay. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye all.